My name is Israel Moskovits. I graduated class of 2007. I'm currently a Social Security Disability Appeals attorney. I like to tell people without exaggerating that my philosophy education was the most valuable education that I've ever received, beating even law school. When you have an argument, you have to pull it apart, think about what makes it strong, what makes it weak, what's good evidence for a proposition, what's bad evidence. You've got to write persuasive papers. We have Dr. Casey at NEIU would make us write these persuasive papers that you probably needed 10 pages for, and he had a very strict 5-page limit. And that, I feel that today. That has made me such a good writer, because I remember I'd be going through drafts and I'm like, okay, it's 6 pages. I can't cut anything out. Wait, yes, I can. And I'd go back. And I'll tell you, in my job today, I've got to write these pre-hearing memos. And I like to say that, a judge's attention is your most valuable asset. So I'm able to turn these into greatest hits albums that are like 2 pages long, 3 pages long. And so I call on those drafting skills that I learned from Dr. Casey. I think about it every time I got to write one. It's like, it comes so naturally to me because it's just something I had to do again and again, on pain of not getting an A-, which is the highest grade that he gives. Fortunately or unfortunately, in my decade and a half long career, I've had some pretty serious ethical issues that I had to weigh, and certainly, the ethics courses that I took with Dan Milsky, and just learning how to think about ethical questions and how you weigh them, and just simply this process where it might be helpful if you got someone to weigh in here, and getting perspectives from my colleagues, and just all those skills that I learned for how to weigh ethical problems, and even to recognize the importance of dealing with ethical questions. I've learned, unfortunately, that it's a lot easier not to do the right thing, and that's why a lot of people don't when they have these ethical quandaries. So I definitely think about what I've learned as far as weighing ethical problems, and it's certainly something that I use in my work. I really, really appreciated that I could just spend hours and hours and hours in Dan's office and in Dr. Casey's office, just rubbing elbows with my professors, like just having them there to talk to. It was just really wonderful that you do your work in class, you go to your lecture, but afterwards you could spend all this time with your professors, which I think really helped me just develop as a human being, develop into a professional, develop into an adult. Because those are the formative years when the concrete is still wet. And having professors around you who are people that have been in the adult world, and some have kids of their own, and they can really help you navigate your emerging adulthood. Like, here's the things you're going to deal with, and here's one way that you can look at these different problems. So I definitely appreciated that they were available to talk, not just a little bit, but hours and hours if I were to count it up over time. Philosophy, for me, provided a framework, because these were questions that I always had, but philosophy and studying philosophy, I think first and foremost legitimized them. It's like, no, these are good, useful questions to have about the world, and here's a community of people that are making similar inquiries, and these are worthwhile questions to have. So I think it provided me a framework that I still use today in how I understand the things that are happening in my work, in my family life, in the news. It gives you a framework for how to understand the world and how to think about contemporary problems. So to someone who's thinking of studying philosophy at NEIU, I would say do the reading on time, but look to your professors as the valuable resource that they are. Come to them after class with the questions that you have. Send them emails. Make use of their office hours. because, I mean, the nature of the philosophic inquiry is this back and forth. And the way something hits you when you read it is not necessarily going to be the way it hits someone else. And having that conversation with your professor or with a colleague, I mean, it's going to help you increase your understanding of the material, and also make it useful. I think there's a stereotype of philosophy as being an inquiry that's in the clouds, but it absolutely has application to everyday life. Every person thinks, and there are certain disciplines like epistemology that are not intuitive. You know, what are the limits of what we can know? How do we know when we know something? These are things that have, especially, you know, as with developing news and developing technology, and I think especially with social media and weighing truth and falsity, it's become incredibly practical. Learning how to weigh things that you've heard, things that you've read. Does this make sense to me? Are there questions I need to ask?